Middle East. When I say this term, what exactly comes to your mind? Camels, deserts, sheikhs. When I talk about Dubai, maybe, gold plated Lamborghinis, women veiled in black attires. No. Middle East is much greater than that. It is a cradle or a cauldron of civilizations. It is where the various religions, various cultures, various ethnicities meet. And beyond, it transcends all the conflicts and unrest. It commands curiosity, not conflicts. So here I am in front of you to present a different picture. Although, as you can see, basically this Israel-Iran war or conflict is taking place as in news. So it is not going to be, I'm not going to blabber out and bore you with all the current affairs and data. I'm going to give you a better picture, an interesting picture. And of course, as my teaching style demonstrates, as it has demonstrated in the past, it is going to be very interesting, encompassing various components of geography, economy, environment, geopolitical science, the international relations, where various transport corridors are involved. So this we are starting, but before that I'll try to explain this to you with a simple map. Although it took a lot of time for me to prepare this, and it is a high resolution map, I hope it will be visible to you in the video. So don't worry, although you might see a lot of places here, but the point is each and every place and its significance. I'm going to give you a brief background. Although lot of intricacies, lot of things are intertwined with each other, but the basic characters, the basic protagonist or antagonist, the villains and the so-called heroes, the involvement of America, Iran and all those places. So currently the situation, what you have heard in the news is that what happened was Israel launched an attack on the Iranian embassy that is situated in Damascus. This is Damascus. So this is the capital of Syria. So here some casualties were there. One top general was killed. Now news, recently I came across a news that it was a miscalculated misadventure on the part of Israel to attack. So that apart, so of course the supreme commander or the supreme leader of Iran, that is Ayatollah Ali Khomeini. This person is not Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, this is Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who came to power after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So currently the supreme leader as proclaimed by the person, that person is Ayatollah Ali Khomeini. So he vowed revenge. He vowed retaliation. So a lot of missiles and drones were launched towards Israel, and ultimately, Israel has a very advanced defense system, which is known as the Iron Dome. So a lot of missiles were intercepted. They were capable of destroying the missiles even before they did some any kind of harm to the Israeli people. And again, now recently what has happened is Israel again has retaliated, and it has attacked some of the sites in Iran, particularly if you have come across this Isfahan. So this is the basic structure, basic current event which is happening. Now I'm going to tell you a very interesting aspect. I'll try to keep it as lucid and brief as possible, and try to explain what is the background of it, how the Middle East, how these Middle Eastern nations came to be so antagonistic or such hostility developed between them. So there has been an issue between Israel and Palestine since 1948, since after the UN or the UN and United Kingdom, basically Britain had its proxy control over this region. Then Jerusalem came under United Nations, and finally when things went out of control, like the British did in India, the British and the UN, they just left the people, the Palestinians and the Jews, to fend for themselves. Okay, I'm not going to go into the Israel Palestine because it will take a large amount of time. So basically, so it was in 1948. Let's start from 1948. So in 1948, Israel as a place, as a haven for Jews, was pretty much established, with small area given to Palestine as according to the mandate of the Balfour Declaration. Fine. But after 1948, the Arab states, I'll show you what exactly they mean. So the Arab states, basically those surrounding this Arabian Peninsula, for example, this we can call an Arab states, Saudi Arabia, then all these states surrounding Israel. So they wanted to spread pan-Arabism. They were not at all happy that this land came under the primary control of the Jews, and they wanted the original promise that the British had made to them of giving Palestinians their homeland, control over their homeland, that was not fulfilled. So these Arab nations, they started going against Israel. You might have heard about the 1967 Israel 6-day Arab-Israeli wars. So a lot of things happened. These Arab states went into war with Israel. What happened between 1948 and 1971 was that Iran was under the Pahlavi dynasty. Fine. Pahlavi dynasty, its leader was Shah Reza Pahlavi. Fine. So this Shah Reza Pahlavi, he was not in favor of spreading Arabism, or in a simple layman terms, it was not against Israel in general sense. So they had good relations. He had good relations with Israel, and the important point to know was that after 1948, Iran. This is Iran, this purple color. Iran was the second Muslim majority country after Turkey to recognize the sovereignty of Israel. Okay, so they shared very good relations. Fine. And also Iran, here this person in Egypt, this photo that I have put is Gamal Abdel Nasser. So he was the leader of Egypt, okay, at that time, and he was of the opinion of Arabic culture to spread throughout this region, the Arabic region, or we can say the Middle Eastern region. So initially what happened was Iran was also at odds with this guy. Fine. Then fast forward, what happened was, then in 1971, the Islamic Revolution took place. So after the Islamic Revolution took place, this Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he became the supreme leader, and this Shah Reza Pahlavi, or the Pahlavi dynasty, was overthrown. Now it became the Islamic Republic of Iran. Fine. So Islamic Republic of Iran, that is, it became a theocratic state, which means that the religion was the main determinant of the identity of Iran. Fine. So initially I have told that Iran and Egypt were at odds with one another, and subsequently what happened was Iran also started championing the cause of the Arabic nationality to spread to Israel as well. Now, two things I want you to understand is that Arabic and Islam are not the same thing. This is a stereotype, okay? Arabic is not equivalent to Muslim or Islam. Arabic stands for ethnicity. Like I told you in the initial part of the discussion, it depends upon culture, various languages, various scripts. There are majority of the Arabic people, they have the religion Islam. They follow the religion Islam. But not all Arabs are Muslims, and all Muslims are also not Arabs. In fact, if I tell you by the stat that there are over 1 billion people worldwide following the Islam religion, but 15% of them are Arabic. Okay, this region to which they are confined. In fact, majority of the Muslim population, they reside outside this Middle Eastern or Arabic region. That is countries like India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Thailand. So don't confuse. Arabic does not refer to Islam. Islam is purely a religion. Arabic tends, because when we this symbol, actually it is the rock dome. It is a Muslim shrine in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, we often say, was the initiator, was the harbinger of the three major religions, that is Islam, Christianity and Judaism. That is what the cultural significance of this place is. So no one religion can claim sovereignty or supremacy over this holy land. It is much more than that, which I am continuously reiterating. Middle East is not just about deserts or veiled women or sheikhs. No, people need to get over that stereotype. Fine. So 1971, Islamic Revolution took place. This Ayatollah Khomeini came into power. And then what happened was, initially during the Pahlavi dynasty, Israel, Iran, and even US, they shared good relations. Iran, is one of the major suppliers of crude oil. So Iran had good relations. It had trade relations, it had diplomatic relations. So that was there was no such problem. But after this supreme leader Ayatollah Khomeini came into power, he decided to sever all relations. He was also annoyed with the Jews occupying the Palestinian land. Okay, so basically when he came into power, he started, just remember, Iran and Israel have never gone head to head directly in combat. It is only recently that such direct attacks have happened. If you remember that have you heard of this term, Stuxnet? Although a lot of terms, don't worry, I have summarized this in the presentation which I'll discuss with you. So a lot of things will be connected and you will be able to establish. So Stuxnet was a computer malware or virus which was allegedly developed by America and Israel and used to attack the Natanz uranium enrichment facility. So right now, if I relate this to what is happening, is because Iran, you might have come across this several times, Iran is under a lot of pressure from US and the Western powers to stop its uranium development programs because they are very wary of Iran possessing nuclear weapons. Obviously, this is a double standard, you can say, because obviously all the nuclear powers, they now want that but since obviously Iran is unstable and a lot of propaganda, fundamentalism is propagated throughout the territory, so that is a danger. So some of the, now for the point of view of prelims or even mains from UPSC, these important sites you should know. So first of all, the important nuclear sites or the enrichment facilities or the nuclear reactor places. So this Arak, Fordow, Natanz, Isfahan. So often in the prelims you might be asked to match a place with its corresponding country. So you should know these places. Then some important places, of course, Tehran, capital of Iran, Urmia. This lake has been in news. Why? Because UPSC is recently become obsessed with asking the lakes which have been drying up due to climate change. Last year prelims, 2023 prelims, UPSC asked some lakes belonging into to Africa. Okay, so you need to be aware of these things. And this Ramsar site, can you tell me Ramsar site, what is it famous for? Of course, the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands. Okay, so this was signed in 1971. Okay, so these, then again recently in news, you know, people are going crazy over lithium deposits. Why? Because it is a major component of the electric vehicles. Okay, so of course this is a resource rich region. Lithium is not found particularly, like India is also dependent upon imports. So this Hamadan province was in news. So if you keep following the news, it's not that if you follow just before prelims you study a compilation. I'm not going to name any booklet, but if you regularly follow this, you'll immediately be able to. So like I've discussed, environmental sites, okay, environment, nuclear sites, geopolitics, resource sites, so a lot of aspects are being covered. Okay, so this is the basic prelude to what is happening right now. So now what is happening is the relations have started between Iran and Israel, and the primary demand, again, like the major Arab states, is that of, now again one important point to note, we were talking about religion. Again, I am repeating this fact, don't confuse Arabic nationalism or Arabic nature or culture is not synonymous with Islam religion. Iran, you might have discussed, you might have come across two major sects in the Muslims population of the Islam religion. One is Sunni and one is Shia. So this Iran is one outlier among these states, Islamic states with major religion Islam. Why? Because the Muslim population in these areas is basically Shia sect. I'm not going to go into the differences between the two sects. And this Sunni population, basically when I talk about Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, so they have majorly the Sunni population. So that is also often a kind of conflict which often occurs. You might have heard of Sunni atrocities over the Shia Muslims. One of the persecuted minorities in Pakistan are the Ahmadiyyas. So they are also persecuted minorities. So these terms you should know, have a fair idea. Like you need to be a jack of all trades, not master of any. You don't need to study the Quran or study the Bible to know about these things. You should know a brief but accurate idea of what is happening. Fine. So we have discussed this Damascus, some important places again in Syria, Aleppo, this Gaziantep. Why I am discussing this? Because these places, here is a localized plate boundary. I'm not going to go into detail, where earthquake took place, and this region was adversely affected. A lot of casualties took place. So these, again, you might be asked in the questions to match places with their corresponding countries. Fine. Then some more interesting aspects. So I said that this region, Middle Eastern region, often known as West Asia, although Middle East often it includes Egypt as well, which is not a part of Asia, but Middle East basically is referred to as in consonance or with respect to geographical location from the point of view of the western powers. So for the western powers, this entire region is east, and this region lies somewhere in the middle. So that is Middle East. For Asia, if we consider Asia as a whole, okay, this Turkey forms the western boundary or western expanse of Asia. So this we call West Asia for us. So more or less they are synonymous. They stand for the same thing. Okay. So I talked about the cradle of civilization, this Middle East. These two important rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, flowing through Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and finally draining into the Persian Gulf. This is Kuwait. This is Qatar. This is Bahrain. So these rivers, of course, like the Indus Valley civilization, the civilization which settled thousands of years ago across the banks of these two rivers, they came to be known as the Mesopotamian civilization. Fine. Now some more interesting places. So this fine. So this is a symbol for Port Haifa, an important port in Israel, often in the news. Tel Aviv. Now, when it comes to the capital of Israel, it is ambiguous because Israel says that the de facto capital of Israel is Jerusalem, but the technical, financial, and economic capital is Tel Aviv. This capital is not recognized by the general public or the general world. Okay, so this is an important area. Then you might have come across this Rafah. Rafah is a border town. This is this little red. This little red strip is the Gaza Strip. This is the West Bank. Why it is known as the West Bank? Because there is a river, Jordan River, flowing across the border of Jordan and Israel. So this is the West Bank. So West Bank and Gaza, the Palestinians, the majority of the Palestinians, they are residing in this place. In this West Bank, a lot of Israeli settlements are also there. But in Gaza Strip, there is a predominance of not only Palestinians, but this extremist fundamentalist group known as Hamas. So it is not the Palestinian people who want to commit atrocities or who want to wage wars. It is the Hamas fundamental group. For an interesting idea, if you find my presentation boring, you can watch this Netflix series Fauda. Although the documentaries are not always 100% accurate, but there also it has given quite a relative picture, because normally here, if some anti-state activities or terrorist activities are originating from Palestine, it is much easier to control the population. Now, I'm not going to go into the human rights violation or whether the Israeli Defense Forces are doing right or wrong by expelling people from or houses from or checking people. Okay, but this Gaza is predominantly Palestinian region, and the terror attacks recently, this Al-Aqsa attack, when the Hamas, they attacked Israeli regions, they came from various regions. One important region was this Rafah crossing, which the Palestinians or the Hamas uses to cross into Egypt. So these crossings, they are often used by the Hamas to wage war on the Israeli population. Fine. This is basically Negev desert. The desert, it is uninhabited region. Fine. Here we have Golan Heights. So what happened after the 1967 Arab-Israeli war? This Israel occupied several regions of the bordering Middle Eastern countries. So one portion was this Golan Heights. It's a plateau region. This region actually belongs to Syria, but it is under the de facto control of Israel. So this is the basic structure. So this Palestinian West Bank region, Gaza region, and Golan Heights are the regions which have been occupied by Israel. Then the yellow portion, the golden portion, is basically what we know as the nation of Israel. Fine. This triangle peninsular portion is the Sinai Peninsula. During the Arab-Israeli War, the Israel also conquered this region, but after the agreements, peace agreement, this was given back to Egypt. Here we have the Suez Canal, a very important waterway. This is actually Gulf of Suez. The Suez Canal has been developed, which bisects the or separates Sinai Peninsula from the rest of Egypt. Now, what is the difference between canal and Gulf? Again, so here we Gulf of Suez, Gulf of Aqaba, two important gulfs which can be asked in the examinations, any kind of examinations. So Gulf, when I say, it's a geographical term, it is a body of water enclosed by land with a narrow mouth, with a mouth opening into a strait. For example, here we have the Persian Gulf, we have the Gulf of Oman, this is Oman, and here is a strait connecting Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, known as the Strait of Hormuz. Fine. Here I'll just pull the map up and show you further straits. So basically, Gulf is a body of water enclosed by land. You might also have come across the term bay. Okay, bay is also similar to Gulf. The only difference is that the bay, like Park Bay, okay, Park Bay is not as enclosed as is the Gulf. So the Gulf has a much narrower mouth as compared to the bay. So we have Park Bay and our Gulf of Mannar. Similarly, this is the Red Sea. Okay, then this is important port you should know, Alexandria, Cairo, capital of Egypt. This we have covered. Fine. Okay. So this is the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. This is separating the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So now again, can anyone tell me what this represents? These are the fundamentalist groups of Yemen, which are known as Houthis. So Houthis, again, they are championing the cause of land of Palestine for the Palestinians, the expulsion of Jews from Israel. So these Houthis, they were much in news because they have been sinking foreign ships, like British ships in the Red Sea. Okay, so the British also recently, they launched attacks on some of the portions or cities of Yemen. One was Sana'a, which is the capital of Yemen. Fine. And this is again one fundamentalist group based out of Lebanon. This is again the religion basically followed by this group. These are the Hezbollah. So Hezbollah, these are the Shiite, they follow the Shiite religion. So what has happened after the Islamic Revolution? The proxy war started. I've talked about Stuxnet. What happened was Iran started supporting the extremist groups to carry out attacks into Israel. Fine. So one is this Hezbollah based, this country, this purple region is Lebanon. So these Lebanon from the northern side, they can attack Israel. From Gaza, the Hamas attacks Israel, and Houthis also sometimes launch attacks, proxy wars they do. They are also champions of Arabism, so-called Arabism, whether or not they understand what Arabic identity actually means. Fine. This is Jordan and this is Iraq. So initially there were tensions between Iraq and Iran as well, but in 1975 a peace deal was signed between the two countries. Now they are much so here. So these groups are supported by Iran to cause unrest or conflict in Israel. Now Israel also does not stand back. Okay, so Israel currently is supporting some groups like this. Light purple region is Sistan Balochistan province of Iran. So it is a predominantly Sunni region. So Sunni regions, Israel, it is alleged that it supports this region to carry out attacks over Iran. Fine. So this is the basic stuff. Other important stuff I will cover in the slides as well. So this is the basic background. And now, how is India affected by these conflicts? That is the main portion that we have to cover. Firstly, Iran is one of the important suppliers of oil. West Asia, the Middle East, a lot of oil content, crude oil. So it is possible because of this Iran-Israel conflict, and particularly the world perception that India is pro-Israel and it is abstaining from anti-Israel resolutions in the UN Human Rights Council and conferences, but that is not the case. This is all, the Western past, this mess, just like the Taliban. If you study history, this British and Americans, they create a mess and then they just wash their hands of their responsibilities and they start blaming India. India always maintains a diplomatic stance. It has to, and obviously it is a peaceful country. It does not start the conflict on its own, but it always promotes the de-escalation of conflict. That is what its job is. Now, so crude oil is bound to get costly. That is a general perception. Bullion markets, stock markets, they are said to become volatile. But India has good relations with Russia. So Russia has become an important oil supplier. Again, that is a problem for the Western powers. We are imposing Western powers say we are imposing sanctions and you are taking oil. But again, there's a much larger picture to that. European nations, they have consumed a significant quantity of oil. Now they want India to suffer. Anyways, so here this is the volatility of markets. Again, another, transport corridors. This is very interesting. So recently you might have come across this port, Chabahar, on the southern coast of Iran in the Sistan Balochistan province. There is a Balochistan province in Pakistan also, but the major Balochistan, or the true Balochistan, is hailed as this region. Anyways, so India is helping, or India is assisting Iran to develop this Chabahar port because it needs access to Central Asian countries, which are a pool of resources. It wants to circumvent the advances of China and it wants to establish trade and diplomatic relations. Of course, India, if goods have to be supplied, they can't directly go through Pakistan and Afghanistan. Pakistan so definitely will not allow, or it will hinder, it will do some hindrance or obstacle. And this Afghanistan region, now it is under the control of Taliban. So it has to develop some alternate route. Of course, this region, this again China, these are the Himalayas. So the only viable route is this. So just pay attention to this. So once the Chabahar port, another important port on the southern coast of Iran is Bandar-e-Abbas. So the India plans to access Central Asia, Europe, and also this circumvent this Suez Canal, because a lot of trade is being done. Significant proportion of trade is being carried out through this Red Sea and then Mediterranean Sea via the Suez Canal. So it has become a sort of a choke point. So in order to circumvent this route and provide a more efficient route for the transport of cargo and establish trade relations, it has planned and it is in this phase of development. So we have two here we have follow the yellow lines. So yellow lines going from Mumbai, the JNPT, okay, Jawaharlal Nehru Port, Nhava Sheva. So we can go here, follow the white line. We have two major ports. Mumbai, Mundra is not a major port. Kandla is a major port. Mundra is a minor port. Currently there are 13 major ports in India. You need to remember the names. So this dotted white line is the sea route from which cargo is to be carried. Fine. So it links this region, that links this region. So ultimately, again, coming back to this yellow line, so it will link Chabahar with Mumbai, Bandar-e-Abbas. Then it will go through Iran. Then Azerbaijan, Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan. Astrakhan, this is the place in Russia. Moscow, all the way to St. Petersburg. So this is known as, this yellow route is known as the INSTC, that is the International North-South Transport Corridor, as a contravention or as a competitor to the Silk Route or the Belt Road Initiative of China. Okay, so it will help. So this INSTC, now for the prelims point of view, you need to know about the members. So the founding members of INSTC, they are Russia, Iran and India. Fine. The other members of INSTC, just check yourself also. So we have Oman, Saudi Arabia, we have UAE, we have Syria also. Then we have Uzbekistan. Fine. We have Tajikistan, we have Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. Fine. We have Azerbaijan. This is Armenia. This small portion is a territory of Azerbaijan. Then we have Ukraine as part of INSTC. We have Belarus. Here we have Bulgaria. Bulgaria is currently an observer state. So you can see the importance of this INSTC. Fine. Then another important trade route or corridor is the IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridor. So now follow the red line. So this originates from Mundra, Mumbai. This is an important port. Again, you need to be aware of some places. These might be asked in the prelims. So this is the Jebel Ali port in UAE, United Arab Emirates, Al Gufayvat, again of UAE. So this is the train route. This is the rail route for the transport of goods. Then these are some places: Harad, Riyadh, capital of Saudi Arabia; Al Haditha, then going through Jordan, then Israel to Haifa, and then further to the European region. This is Piraeus, an important port of Greece. And IMEC, these Middle Eastern countries, these are the Middle Eastern countries. Apart from that, Germany, Italy and France, they are also. So your homework is to determine, to know the countries which are part of IMEC. Some countries I've already told you. One is India, of course. Then we have UAE. Then we have Greece. We have Italy, France, Germany. So rest of the countries you have to find out. This is your homework. Fine. So this was a brief. Okay, the one again. Now we know that this Suez Canal is slowly becoming a choke point. There is a proposal of establishing a Ben Gurion Canal, who is the founding father of Israel, David Ben Gurion. So it is named after it. So it hopes to establish a canal linking Gulf of Aqaba to the Mediterranean Sea as an alternate route for trade to go through. Fine. So these major parts, again, okay, when we talk about Afghanistan, you need to know, although it is a relatively old topic, but India-Afghanistan relations, you know, when we talk about cricket, Afghanistan has a lot of respect, mutual respect we have towards Afghanistan and vice versa. So this Chabahar is also route not only for the INSTC but also important to gain access to Central Asia via Afghanistan. So this, if you have heard, this Zaranj-Dilaram highway connecting Zaraj and Dilaram places was developed with the assistance of India. Then this is the route, the rail or road route. This is the Garland highway, which is often in the news, connecting Herat, Garland, or the ring road Herat, Kandahar. Remember IC 814, Ghazni, Mahmud of Ghazni, Kabul, Capital of Afghanistan, Mazar-e-Sharif. So you know all history is so related. Okay. If you know, this is the Salma Dam, which India helped Afghanistan build on the Harirud River. Fine. Then this is the Helmand River. It was recently in news. Why? Because it is a transboundary river. Its waters are shared between Afghanistan and Iran. So there's a conflict. So not only we have a conflict of waters over the Kaveri between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka or other rivers, but also internationally. So you need to know about these things. Finally, I'm trying to give you a summary of, so this is, peace is always broken, but peace cannot be brokered. A little English lesson. Fine. So this prelims question that has been asked, it was asked in 2017. Mediterranean Sea is the border of which of the following countries? So you can see the options, these kind of questions, and particularly Middle East. These countries which are facing unrest or conflict, they are now and then being discussed. You need to know the borders or the countries surrounding it. So you can study this question and then attempt. Term Levant, this was asked in 2022 prelims. So this Levant region, it corresponds to which area? So you can, this is just to tell you the significance that whatever I have taught or whatever is going on in the current affairs, it cannot be covered only through the magazines or current affair compilation. You have to be reading the newspaper. Just pick one newspaper, pick Indian Express or pick the Hindu, and just read. Then this is a sample question which you can attempt, try to answer, and you can send it to me on my email, and I'll definitely try to check it and send back to you. So you can study, pause the video and discuss this question. These kind of question can be asked in GS paper 2, international relations, in terms of energy security. Fine. So most of the things I've already discussed. Just a brief overview. Actually, this is a video. So this is the structure which I will be discussing in brief. Historical context, 1979 revolution, shadow war, recent developments and US involvement, and finally stakes of India, which I had created a separate presentation but I have combined into one. So this April 12 attacks, so some important points. This Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, so this commander, important commander, Hossein Salami, one commander Zahedi of IRGC, he was killed in the attack on the consulate, on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. So actually this, after just a brief overview of this IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, after the Islamic Revolution of 1971, this was formed, this group or paramilitary unit was formed, paramilitary or unit working parallel to the general armed forces of Iran. This is not the actual armed forces of Iran. This is runs parallelly. So this came in charge of various, creating, regulating affairs, preventing conflicts in Iran, and also then, establishing conflicts or unrest in other areas. You might have heard of Quds. QUDS. So this Quds region, what is the problem? Quds is a paramilitary and espionage division of inside IRGC. So the Quds forces have been also in news. Fine. So this I was talking about, this is the Arab world. So it also not only has some countries of Middle East, it has countries of northern Africa as well. So the Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Syria, this is Lebanon, then Jordan, Syria, my bad, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. This Israel is not included in the Arab world. Why? Although a lot of descendants in Israel are of Arabic heritage, but The Arab world refuses that. We have Somalia, Sudan, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. This Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, these are also known as Maghreb states, just for geographical information. Mauritania. Okay. This is the region of Western Sahara. Anyways, so basically, major religion in these countries might be Islam. It is Islam, but they are called the Arabic countries or Arab world countries because they have an Arabic heritage, Arabic script. Their culture, clothes, in Hindi we call pehnawa, so that is Arabic in nature. Okay, see, Iran is not considered part of Arab world. Iran is basically Persia, we relate. It is a basically theocratic state. It is not identified as Arab. It is identified by the Islamic religion. Then the Middle East. So Middle East. So this is the Middle East. Sometimes we also call it West Asia from the perspective of Asia, but of course Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, these are countries which are not part of Asia. These belong to Africa. So these Middle Eastern countries. Okay, so this is the geographical phenomena. So historical context, I'm going to go through it in a fast-paced manner. So pre-1979, this Israel, Western countries aligned. Okay, Pahlavi dynasty, Shah Reza Pahlavi, periphery doctrine was there. So in order to counter the Arab hostility, Israel, what it did, it exercised the periphery doctrine. That is, it tried to make non-Arab states, but predominantly Muslim states like Iran, which surrounded the Arab states, to go or favor the formation of Israel. Okay, so this is their economic and strategic alliance. So Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, during his reign, Iran and Israel were predominantly friends. 1979, shift in Iran-Israel. So establishment of a religious state. Iran's new regional ambitions to have or spread influence in the Middle East. And then Israel's strategic value after the supreme leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he proclaimed himself the supreme leader of Iran. Again, the downfall took place between Israel and Iranian relations. Shadow war, that is, like I said, that there has never been a direct conflict between Israel and Iran up until now. So I have cyber warfare, Stuxnet. Okay, it targeted the Iran's Natanz facility, uranium enrichment facility. Then anti-Israel militant groups, we have Hamas operating out of Gaza, we have Hezbollah, Lebanon, and we have Houthis of Yemen. Fine. Recent developments and US involvement. Again, US with its own diplomacy. Joe Biden is elections are coming, so he has to adopt and say fancy words and try to assure people that everything's going to be all right, but it is not so. Fine. Now next, India's stakes. That is important. So stakes, we have said that Middle East, one important is the oil. With Israel, we had talked about Iran, but can you brainstorm what will be the impact or what are the relations with Israel, the Middle East, what will be the impact or subsequent consequence due to these tensions? Of course, around thousands of people, they inhabit the Indian diaspora. They inhabit not only Israel, but Iran as well. And overall, around 90 lakh people originating from India, they inhabit the Gulf states. Fine. So they are in conflict. Recently, Ministry of External Affairs, they issued an advisory to avoid traveling to these countries, Israel, and also those who are already residing in Israel to try and stay indoors to avoid conflict. Okay. Then how is Israel important? Okay, not only as a strategic and economic partner, but defense. In terms of trade, recently it was in news that India is the second largest trading partner of Israel in Asia itself, and it is the 7th largest overall. Then the important point, defense. 41% of Israel's defense exports, they go to India. Example, Barak missile, Falcon AWACS, that is Falcon airborne warning and control systems. Then we have Heron drones as well. So this is very important. Then India takes risks to the diaspora. Energy security. This is in general. West Asia supplies 80% of India's oil. India is heavily dependent upon crude oil for its purpose. Economic growth. We have talked about stock markets, inflationary tendencies, bullion, diplomatic challenges. Fine. These points, when you write an answer, you need to diversify your answer in UPSC to fetch more marks. Then India-Israel relations, defense, economic, and commerce. Recently, over the past few years, the trade between India and Israel has more than doubled. Energy, this is important. Recently, India was awarded rights. There are 2 gas fields in Israel, Leviathan and Tamar. So these locations are important in Israel. Science and technology, India-Israel Industrial Research and Development and Innovation Fund, I4F Fund. Space collaboration. PSLV has grown leaps and bounds, and it has now also started taking out ventures of transporting or carrying satellites for other nations. So this TechSAR and RISAT, 2 satellites of Israel, were carried by India's PSLV. Then India-Iran relations, this energy security, geopolitical concerns, strategic project Chabahar Port, basically the IMEC, India Middle East Corridor, and the INSTC. So way forward, again, this is the general. When you conclude an answer, you have to write that India has to adopt a balanced position. It has to maintain cordial relations, not take any ideological or fundamentalist stand, not favor any particular country. And our Honorable External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar ji is doing a wonderful job at that. Fine. So this was the conclusion of today's lecture, that is Iran-Israel relations. If any doubts, you can reach me on this mail, and till then, Jai Hind.